The Committee of the Whole is back in order. Happy Sunday to everyone, and thank you for being here, colleagues. Colleagues, we are now on Chapter 2, Part 2, Guam Academy Charter Schools Council. At this time, I'm going to recognize Office of Finance and Budget to explain how they arrived at this budget level. Steve, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the charter school. Of the 7 charter schools that's requesting funding from the government for FY26, which is the same number of charter schools that we are funding in FY25, we basically gave them a status quo level to their FY25 appropriation. There were about 2 or 3 of them that were asking increases in pupil size, but given the case that, we're trying to hold down the line and kind of like just make sure that we fund whatever the requirements were for FY25, hopefully moving on to 26, that is basically how we derived at the FY26 appropriation level for all the charter schools.
Colleagues, I'm now going to open up the floor for any questions to OFB on the charter school, and just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Senator Joseph Augustine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. There's no change in student population, basically a status quo. Am I correct? I just want to make sure I heard that right.
That's correct, Senator.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions on charter schools? Senator Guåhan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions, but I at least want to, at least put on the record and make, because the charter schools did ask, if the body would consider a student cap increase, which I at least advised them, just based on what was presented, that there wasn't any additional funding identified to accommodate that request, Mr. Chair.
And just for the, once again, on the presentation from OFB, it was status quo for their levels in terms of their per pupil level, but they did get across the board, they did get an additional $2.8 million. And so any other questions on charter schools? Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Buenas, Mr. Chair, and happy Sunday to the people of Guam watching. I hope you prayed for us this morning, and Sidus Masi to my colleagues and OFB for being here. Mr. Chair, could you explain? I just caught that last part. You said it's a status quo, but they did receive an across-the-board $2.5 million increase?
Yeah, so I'll defer to OFB on that.
Yes, Senator Burnett. What I believe what the chairman was saying is that we did give them the FY25 appropriation level, which included the supplemental for FY25.
Okay, so we're just we're maintaining the increased enrollment that we allowed for with the passage of the supplemental budget bill?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Senator Barnett. So once again, I think you've heard this discussed many times by OFB, but I'll just go ahead and reiterate it once again. Normally, when we do supplemental budgets, typically it's for something that's not necessarily designed for their fixed cost operations. Like when we went in and did the $30 million for the hospital. The purpose we did the $30 million for the hospital was that they were in such dire straits that they had vendor payments that were past due and they couldn't buy supplies and things like that. So their budget wasn't holding them and they had other issues associated with it. So normally when you do a supplemental budget that's not necessarily part of what their fixed costs, that's considered a one-time appropriation. And so when we are saying, just for clarity, we may have differences on this, but when we were saying that we increased the budget to an agency, it means we've now recognized that supplemental budget as their budget, their new budget. So we've basically created for ourselves new fixed cost for the agency or entity. And so, you know, some may say, well, you gave them what you gave them last year because you gave them a supplemental budget. That's true. But what's also true is a status quo would mean, you know, basically what they got last year without the supplemental, because that's how the budget reads. That's why even when we do our CRER, it doesn't mark itself against the supplemental budget, because the CRER is the adopted levels. The supplemental was after the adopted levels. So we can agree or disagree on whether or not it's additional money, but it certainly is a new fixed cost for that agency, meaning that's now becomes their full budget. Senator Barnett?
Mr. Chair, I don't know if OFB can offer any clarity, but I noticed that we're funding CIFA, and obviously there's a little bit of a situation with their campus, but I just wanted to ask on the record if there were any other information that OFB could provide, or maybe the chair on education.
Mr. Chairman, do you, Senator Borah, do you defer to that?
Sure, just
question?
real quick. I know that they're still trying to, or at least the last time I spoke with the council chair for the charter schools, they're working on securing a place. They're no longer, not that they're not interested in GDOE, but they're going to wait for the bill that was introduced by Senator San Agustin to, till they even consider trying to lease any of our schools. But in regards to student cap, it's still the same. I know that there was some concern in regards to students leaving. So I don't know what that exact number is. I mean, I know a couple people in my office who withdrew their students from CIFA and enrolled them in public school. So I'm sure their numbers have dropped, but there hasn't been anything that has come back to the committee in regards to any changes. I know they still like to keep the cap at the same,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any other questions on charter schools? Senator Talahi, you're recognized.
I just wanted to ask OFB if they could just clarify again. The charter schools, the money goes through this council. So the council is reviewing, it looks like, every invoice that's getting paid or not paid. Is that correct?
Senator, my understanding, the way the appropriations are dispersed to the charter school, it actually goes to DOA. And DOA, what they do is they look at the enrollment, I believe on a monthly basis, and release their appropriation based on their enrollment. Because again, when we calculate the enrollment, it's based on a $700, $800 price tag per student. So I believe that is how the appropriations being dispersed to the charter schools.
All right. And so if there are unpaid invoices, I mean, would that happen?
I believe DOA, again, is I would use the word kind of like oversees, basically, the expense for the charter schools and releases those funds based on whatever, I assume, invoices and purchase orders and whatever have contracts they have that the charter school needs to be paid for.
They're releasing the funds then after the invoicing to the charter schools, not to the vendors, right? Or the contracts, but to the charter schools themselves.
Again, Senator, I'm not too sure exactly how far down the line that thing actually happens. The only thing I know that's DOA is responsible for the basically disbursement of those funds.
All right. Okay. I just wanted to verify if someone's looking at this and if there are unpaid invoices, if those would come to our attention or not. But I do see in this bill that it repeats that the invoices shall be verified by DOA and that they will release funds to each academy charter school based on those invoices. All right. Situs Masi, Mr.
Excuse me, Senator. Senator Barnett, you had another question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to ask again. And maybe just a little commentary, if I may. But the last few fiscal years, we've been very supportive of the charter schools in that we've increased the enrollment caps. But I do understand intend to stay status quo. But I just was reading through the chapter, and I know in the prior fiscal year we had proffered an amendment that allowed the Guam Academy charter schools to maintain their lapses. So are you tracking, Mr. Guerrero, any lapses?
Again, Senator, the only way we can track the lapses basically is whatever is not dispersed by DOA. And DOA, to my recollection from the accounts that we see, that the charter schools are not lapsing, and that by the end of the fiscal year, most of the appropriations are allocated to the charter schools.
Yeah, and Senator, to add to that, it was interesting in our pre-budget meetings and other meetings that we had, including the hearing, was that's their kind of claim to fame, is that they spend all their money and they don't, I guess it's just because they need it, that badly. But yeah, so whatever, they keep it rolling and they spend all of their money. Pretty much none of them lapse. Senator Tello Tadigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. And those who are listening, thank you so much for tuning in and being well advised of what's happening here in the legislature. It's important that we continue to get the public's input as we move forward with this budget bill and their concerns. So, I've been one of the biggest fans for charter schools, but I also keep an eye on them to make sure that they cross their T's and dot their I's, and when they need help, it's justified completely. So my question too, it's not just the charter schools, but it's also the board, the council that oversees the charter schools. We know that they were in some trouble prior budget in the lack of not having enough funding to do all the work they need to do to oversee these charter schools, and that's very important. And so I was wondering, what was the amount that the council was getting for themselves only in order to run the charter schools?
Are you referring to the FY2026?
Yes, 26. But, you can compare it to the 25 too, please.
Senator, the way the appropriations are made to the charter basically is the council has oversight of all the charter schools. And it's basically the council's responsibility to ensure that each charter school, I would think, that gets their fair share of the appropriations that are made to the charter schools. Because when we give it basically to the charter schools, we give it to them as lump sum.
Right.
Okay? And
So
it's up to the council to kind of divvy that up to each charter school.
Is there anything by law that requires them to take a certain percentage, or do we appropriate them for their administrative costs?
Well, the way we do as far as the appropriations concerned, the way we come up with the amount is we break it down by charter school. And each charter school has a specific amount, but when we appropriate in the law, we appropriate as a lump sum to the charter school.
Yeah, I understand, but how much is set aside for the administrative costs of the council?
That's really up to the council to decide how much of the appropriation is allocated for administrative costs.
So is there something in law that actually says this? I mean, I don't remember that happening last time. They received a certain amount of funding, and then
the only thing, Senator, that I am aware of is any type of administrative costs is we pay the administrative costs for, I believe, the accountant over at DOA that manages the charter school accounts.
Maybe I can ask the oversight chair of education if he knows anything how the administrative side oversees this, and how do they get paid? Because I know that DOE provides them a little room for them to be in there, but there are so many things that they're required to do to keep updates on what the charter schools are doing. So is there anything in law that requires them a certain percentage of whatever we appropriate them that they get to keep?
Do you yield,
Yes,
Senator Moore?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I know that there is some funding that comes out of their appropriation to fund one administrative assistant or administrative officer, and to cover the stipends for at least, with my conversations with the council chair, that was my understanding.
Yeah, Senator, right now, we do have their spreadsheet open too, so we'll take a look. You know what I'm gonna do is take a 1 minute recess just to go over this spreadsheet real quick and see if we can find anything that's actually
Okay.
delineated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We're The committee of the whole is back in order. Senator Tadigue, I think you may be directing a question again, so we can clear this one up.
Well, if I can, Mr. Chair, I now understand. I mean, the question was, how do they get funded, the administrative side that oversees the charter schools? But because remember, we had introduced legislation and provide them supplemental funding for the charter schools to cover the administrative side of it. And I think it was mentioned 88,000. So about 88,000. So now we're looking at this and we're trying to figure out if they've received that same time of funding to continue on what they're doing for the next 2026. And now I found out that it's actually incorporated in the appropriation to each school, that a certain percentage that gets funding from each school will give to for administrative costs. So that clears everything up because, you know, that's why I was wondering why we didn't have a same appropriation directly to them. But they needed some assistance desperately. I believe the bill was passed this year, earlier this year or last year, and they did need funding. So it did answer my question. And I'm glad that the good senator from Joña brought up the fact that what happens if a school doesn't fulfill its obligation. And many of these parents really appreciate, you know, the situation of charter schools. They feel they get more attention being paid to them, and they feel their kids are doing better with, you know, less students in the classroom. So we want to make sure that the funding that we give them is totally utilized. So I'm hoping to look at maybe legislation down the road. I know it's kind of too late to put it in the budget bill, but, you know, legislation that will allow, if certain charter schools doesn't fulfill the enrollment seats, that the board, the council, the charter school council could relocate those to other charter schools as well. So that's I can't put it as an amendment because I didn't put it in, but, you know, it's something I'm looking forward to, and maybe having a co-sponsor with the good senator from Joña to put something like that together to allow that leeway, because we don't want to see any seats not filled at all, so they can gain it from other schools. So I appreciate the time and the opportunity to look into this and to ensure that the charter schools get as much attention as how we give Guam DOE. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Sidus Masi. Anyone else on a question for the charter school appropriation? Any other senator wish to ask a question about charter schools appropriation? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to take a recess to confer with the clerks. We are in recess. Seeing no amendments in the drive for Charter Schools Part 2, we are considering Charter Schools Part 2 having been heard. Senators, we are now in Chapter 2, Part 3, University of Guam. I will open the floor for any questions on the, or excuse me, I will have the budget director introduce how we arrived at UOG's appropriation level for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for FY2026 appropriation level for the University of Guam, it included the same level that all programs and the universities were funded with in FY25. It also included the 5.7 million supplemental that was granted to them in this fiscal year. So their level is inclusive of that 5.7.
So once again, kind of the status quo question of when a supplemental appropriation is assigned anywhere, it can either have been a one-off or it can now become a fixed cost of the entity. So that is now fixed costs for University of Guam, and that's how we arrived at their appropriation level. At this time, I'll open the floor for any questions on the University of Guam's budget. Senator Tadigue, you're recognized.
Just a point of inquiry, Mr. Chair. I know that we've been passing out amendments. Okay, there we are. Is this the time that we proffer our amendments, or do we wait for everyone to speak, or how are we going to move forward?
Senator, I'll be more clear about that. Thank you for the question. So yeah, we're going to do the question and answer session first. So it's open floor, open mic. And then once we complete all the questions, that's why I recessed earlier, to assess whether or not there were amendments in the drive.
Okay, so we can speak twice if we have an amendment on this one, and then
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. Okay.
You'll proffer, anyone who is going to be proffering amendments will be proffering those amendments after we consider or we go through the dialogue of question and answer. Do you have any questions to OFB?
No, will they be passing out the hard copy of the amendments?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do the same procedure, Senator, as I've been doing for others that we have panels, of course, because we're going to have panels coming down the line again, like for GMH and like that. But this is the protocol for this chapter right now. And so, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'll recess. I'll check whatever is in the drive. We'll call it at that point.
Okay.
And then, and then we will go to the amendments, and you'll have the full, recognition of the same time that we were doing in other chapters.
Thank you for clarifying me. Thank
Sure,
you.
absolutely. So the floor is open at this point for any questions on the appropriation level and how we arrived there for the University of Guam. Are there any questions from members on the floor? Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question regarding the cultural repository. So during the budget hearings, there was a question as to whether it was going to be taken up by Department of External Affairs or continued with UOG. So has it been decided as far as where is it going to be funded?
Yes, Senator, I know that's been a point of contention. So I'm going to have OFB, answer that in terms of, is it final or are we ping-ponging that appropriation? So Steve, please provide the information to the Senator.
Yes, Senator. In the EBR, it was requested that we fund the program, and we funded it at $1.6 million. But it was also requested that the funds and the program be transferred from the University of Guam to the Department of External Affairs. And that is at the request of the governor. And we put it in that way in the bill. But the program is funded.
Okay, so it's under the Department of External Affairs?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Has it been, is it status quo?
Senator, for FY20, the appropriation level 1.6 is the same.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Susmasi, Senator Perez. Any other questions from members on the floor for the University of Guam's appropriation level and how OFB and I arrived at that level? Senator Taitagui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, can you repeat if they received an increase from FY24 to 26? And how much was that increase?
FY24?
I'm sorry, 25, 26, sorry.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
been a
so
long week.
he'll go over, Steve will go over it again. Steve?
Just the numbers would be fine.
Yeah, I
for
think
what-
the representation
what
was
the
that it was,
variance is.
we embedded their supplemental, but I'll have him go. Oh, I think we did some fixed costs too, right? Yeah.
The increase from the University of Guam between 25-26 is 5.7 million.
Additional increase.
Yes.
Okay, and what was that for?
It was part of, the figure that we used, Senator, was derived from the supplemental they submitted. So it's embedded into their bottom line.
So you used the supplemental for UOG. Did you use the supplemental for everyone else that we gave supplementals to?
Not necessarily. For the most of the line agencies that received the supplemental, because the supplemental was used to pay for operational costs, I am in consultation with a lot of the departments, determined that these costs basically are part of the fixed costs that need to be funded going forward. So the supplemental really addressed a lot of backlog, a lot of outdated, a lot of dated expenditures that needed to be paid. So the supplemental really brought a lot of these departments up to par where we are today. That being said, if we didn't fund at least the supplemental level going forward, it would really, by October 1st, these departments would already be incurring a deficit in their operations. So we use those supplemental levels as part of their bottom line for FY26.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is that, some may think that, other agencies are being favored over other critical agencies, and most of these agencies didn't get an increase. But UOG, if you look, they've been getting increased almost every year. If you look at 24, 25, and then 26 now, they're getting a $5 million increase. And, I just think that, if we're going to do this, we should do it across the board for everyone, if you're going to include a supplemental or not. It's unfortunate that, it just seems like there's some favoritism here. And I can see if there's an agency that we haven't been funding, or every year they get less from the prior year and less from the prior year, but UOG keeps getting more and more every single year. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Senator. Any other senator on the appropriation level and how we arrived at it for the University of Guam? Senator Terlahi, recognized.
Yes, thank you. I'm just trying to find the DCA page. I missed it. Did you say that DCA, in the DCA budget, there's an amount there specifically for the repository, in addition to DCA's status quo budget? Department of Chamorro Affairs.
Yes, Senator. If you look under the chapter where DCA is, there is an outright appropriation of 1.6 directly to DCA.
But for the cultural repository?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the same amount as last year?
Yes, ma'am.
For the repository, okay.
Yes.
And so then when UOG is receiving the same amount that it received last year plus a supplemental, but why wasn't that amount deducted from UOG then?
Are you asking about the repository number?
Yes.
Okay. So the answer is forthcoming, Senator.
Senator, to answer your question, is that the level that we used for FY25, okay, was the level that was presented in the budget bill for 25. The 1.6 million for the repository was a floor amendment made to the 25 budget level. So when we used the 25 budget level, it was excluding the 1.6. So when we appropriated for FY26, it did not include the 1.6 that originally was given to UOG as an amendment, because we used the original UOG appropriation.
Okay, but I thought you said that UOG increased from its original appropriation by 5.7 million. So
That was a supplemental request that was
Yes,
made by
that's a
UNIT. We did
supplement.
not include the depository back in October of last year. So that
the 5.7 did not include the repository, but the
No.
original amount FY25, I mean the past amount for FY25 did.
on when you submitted the budget in, which is the level that we're using, the
Sorry.
25 level.
Sorry, Steve, it's kind of echoey. Just, can you repeat that again?
Okay, the 25 level that we're using to justify as the basis for 26 did not include the 1.6 million as a floor amendment.
Oh, so they got so you're saying you used the amount without the 1.6?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because they're over, okay, all right, that's fine.
No, you would be perfectly right. If we did include it in the FY25 level, it would be proper to take it out and not just giving them an additional 1.6. But we didn't do that in the calculation
All right, so.
for 25.
We gave them an extra 1.6 last year for that repository?
No,
I
no,
thought
no,
it was
no.
included in their budget.
No, remember it was a floor amendment. It wasn't part of the original when we started.
All right.
Mr. Chair, on a point of information, please, or an inquiry, please.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and, okay, that's right.
The reason why
Okay.
I wanted to
I
just
recognize
bring
you.
it up was I wanted just to confirm, based on the question that's on the floor with the senator from Jonia, is that I thought last year that the money that was maybe a confirmation that is needed, that the money for the repository was an allocation from UOG's appropriation, not an additional line item like we are doing for DCA. And that one of the concerns UOG told us about last year was that they would have to sacrifice existing operational expenses to fund the repository because we allocated the repository funds from UOG, and I think that was in the budget law last year. I'm asking my staff to look at it. It was on page 150 that the University of Guam shall utilize from its fiscal year 2025 appropriations the one of $1,627,126 to fund the operations of the Guam Cultural Repository. So I just wanted a confirmation just to make sure, allocation versus appropriation.
That's correct, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Tulay, you still have the floor?
Thank you. Yeah, so it was allocated as part of their budget, not in addition to their budget.
Yes, Senator. Remember when we first started the appropriation process for UOG, it did not include the repository.
Right.
When the floor amendment went through, it designated 1.6 of their base
Yeah.
appropriation for the repository. So that way, so when we looked at it this year to going forward, that base really didn't really consider the repository, because in the initial submission of UOG, it did not include the repository.
I know, but they were able to do it, right?
They were able to fund it out of it.
Okay,
Yes.
and then can you just tell me how this funding for the repository compares to the funding for the Guam Museum?
I believe, Senator, it's the same amount.
All right, and I know that they've been submitting reports. Does OFB review those at all for anything? The reports from the cultural repository? Pretty much their financials.
Yeah, Senator. To my knowledge, this year, nothing was submitted to OFB.
Oh,
for
well, they
music.
submitted to the speaker, so it's available for everybody, I guess. All right, then, okay. My other question is about the Healthy Futures Fund. Isn't it that 15% of the Healthy Futures Fund is supposed to go to the Guam Cancer Trust Fund?
By statute, Senator, yes.
All right, so is that being done here in this appropriation, in this bill?
Senator, as far back as I can remember, even before coming into OFB, that provision of law has never, ever made it up to the 15% in terms of appropriation. I believe 2 years ago, we tried to get it up there to about 3 million, 4 million. This year, I think we're hovering again at 3 million. And then for FY26, we're keeping them again at 3 million. I believe the 15 million, the 15% of the Healthy Future Fund, if my best recollection is correct, is roughly about $5-6 million.
Okay, so they're not receiving the percentage that they're entitled to by law, but why are they receiving less than what we gave them last year? Why are we going down instead of at least up? Because the Healthy Futures Fund is, you're predicting it to do well, even though the tracking doesn't seem like it's going to do well. It's like 582,000 less than what we gave last year, including the supplemental amount that we had. We tried to increase them because it was so low.
Give me 1 second, Senator.
All right.
Senator, in the University of Guam's budget for FY26, the Guam Cancer Fund was not reflected in their budget, although university serves as a pass-through to the cancer. In the executive by ZEBR, the governor did reflect 3.5 million. And it came down to the end result, we put it down at 3 million. So they received a reduction about $500,000.
Yeah, is there a rationale for that?
Yes, Senator. Again, in order for us to do these appropriations from the various fund sources, Healthy Future Fund is one of those funds that are really not tracking up to par. So, again, we took that into consideration in terms when we did the appropriation from these funds and had to make the appropriate adjustment. Could have we appropriated the 5 million? Yes, but then education would have been hit. All the other departments that receive Healthy Future Funds would have received a reduction also. So we did our best, at least at this point,
But the
to do a corresponding reduction.
But isn't the Healthy Futures Fund that you're predicting for FY26 larger than what you predicted for FY25?
We are anticipating that, yes.
Yes, so it wouldn't have made those other places decrease.
But still in the allocation, whether it came from the special fund and came from the general fund, something had to give. So in this case, unfortunately, it was from the Healthy Future Fund.
I'm not understanding, but yeah, so that's unfortunate because that's one of the reasons we did that supplemental last year, because the Guam Cancer Trust Fund had received, not even close to the statutory amount. And so now this year it's receiving 582,690 less than the statutory amount. And
I believe, Senator,
500,000 less than FY25, right?
I believe, Senator, the supplemental also included general fund. It wasn't all from the Healthy Future Fund.
Yeah, it was from excess,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
So
but
that's how they got the increase.
I know, but are you confident in your prediction for healthy futures? Because it's going up according to the prediction. So if it's going to go up, then there should be enough to cover the statutory amount.
If we do the redistribution of the funds, we could. It's just that maybe those departments that are receiving Healthy Future Fund now would have to receive an adjusted downward allocation, which would have to be either supplemented or funded out of some other fund. And that's the biggest challenge when we do this, is that we have a cap on all these funds, and we can only give out so much of what we anticipate to collect.
All right, well, I just have a concern that we have laws that allocate these funds, and we are bypassing those. And then, yeah, the UOG, they don't want to take care of the repository, so they, insisted it's going to go to DCA, but they're keeping the money that we allocated for the repository last year. So those are just my concerns, but thank you, Mr. OFB.
Sure, and thank you, Senator. So for the body, just so we understand this, this is where I had a little bit of disconnect, so I'll go on the record. Last year, for the budget for 2025, the original appropriation went from 3,000 down to 1.3 million, 3 million down to 1.3 million. That was really the cause for a lot of the dissension and gnashing of teeth, which I understand, in the committee. So we passed the budget without having brought that back to status quo level at 3 million. But we also added some more general fund appropriation when we did that. So we covered it by the general fund. So I see where we're going to say that now it's 500-some thousand less because we increased it. But the committee did make sure that we went back to the 3 million level. So I see what's being discussed here. The only thing I can think of, if it's the will of the body, is to comb through that and see if there's an adjustment internally for the allocation, because other than some new revenue, that's where we'd have to find it. It would be within the other categories within HHFF. Yes, Senator.
Can I just ask a follow-up then? Mr. Guerrero, then if if the Guam Cancer Trust is receiving a smaller percentage of the Healthy Future than required by the statutory formula, who's receiving the higher percentage? Higher than their statutory allotment?
I'm going to guess it's GMH, but go ahead.
The agency that's getting the majority of the Healthy Future Fund is JIPWIC. Guam Behavioral.
Guam Behavioral.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Susmasi. Members, are there any other questions for UOG from any members on the floor? Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you. The other question I have is so there's a lot of capital improvement projects happening on campus, and I believe that they have to start paying, I believe, in this fiscal year. How much of that is that accurate, and how much of that is needed, and is it accounted for in this particular budget?
Yeah, while they're looking for that number, I think we remember when they, if my memory serves me right, when they came down and we were doing the supplemental and committee of the whole, what was mentioned was that they had already anticipated that internally, that they were doing some adjustments and other things to ensure that they could finish at least. And I think they might have had some early debt service, but we'll find out what's in the budget.
Yes, Senator. If you look in the chapter where University of Guam is, there is appropriation of 1.5 million for the capital improvement project for the leaseback agreement pursuant to Public Law 31229, which was repealed and enacted by 31227, and the other one is a sum of $500,000 is for the payment of the debt service pursuant to subsection 132, chapter 16, title 17 of the GCA fiscal year 2026. I believe this is for the business building and the annex at the university.
What about the engineering building?
That's the annex.
Oh, that's the annex, okay. So that's section 13 and section 10 of the bill, or section 10 of this part?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Excuse me, Senator Perez. Anyone else wish to have any questions to University of Guam's appropriation level? Seeing and hearing none, I will take a oh, go ahead, Senator Perez.
Just a quick comment.
Sure.
Since we deappropriated money from GDOE, is that going to reflect in the finalized bill in section 20?
Senator, we're past DOE. Is that a
Yeah, so
UOG
we
question?
passed that for, we
yeah.
reappropriated. So just a comment.
Yeah, does that show up in their budget since we reappropriated from DOE that 500 and some thousand for the book? What's that called again?
The curriculum.
Yeah, UOG Press. Does that show up in their budget? Oh, so Senator, I believe what's going to happen is it'll show up in 27. Is that correct? No.
Yeah, this is more of a comment regarding when you're processing and grossing the bill. So
Right.
yeah, it was more of that than really talking about the
Would that
funds.
be recognized in engrossment? So since it's a pass-through, it will remain as a GDOE line item, but it's passed through to University of Guam. So they'll be transferring the revenue up, but it will still be recognized in GDOE. The amendment allowed for it to be transferred, but we can ask legal how that should be reflected. Okay, Senator. Okay, so seeing and hearing no other questions, I will take a recess to confer with the clerks, and we will begin the amendment process. We're in recess. The Legislature Committee of the Whole is called back to order. This time, colleagues, I am recognizing this amendment. It is TTT L22 P30. This amendment is properly put together and is approved for discussion on the floor. And it's in terms of the funding allocations and what it's doing, it's all in order. Senator Taitigui, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this amendment that I have, actually the Guam Green Growth, to take $250,000 from the $500,000 that they've been appropriated, as well as the Sea Grant. Well, this is actually, I don't think this is the right, oh yeah, there it is, on the other side of the back that it's printed. Thank you for saving some paper here and printing the back side of this. I appreciate it, the staff. And yes, by the way, take a moment to thank the staff for these long 7 days, working, and appreciate everyone who's been helping support the senators during this time of legislature. I just want to say thank you to the staff. And then, of course, on the backside, it talks about the Sea Grant doing the same, taking 250 and 500. So after consideration, Mr. Chair, of this, I think we've found some additional funding to at least provide the money where it's intended to, and that was going to be go to the Office of the Medical Examiner, this funding. So I'm going to go ahead and withdraw, Mr. Chair, withdraw this amendment.
Thank you, Senator, for speaking on the amendment. And so now I will consider the motion on the floor by the author to withdraw the amendment. Are there any objections to allowing the author to withdraw this amendment? Seeing, hearing none, amendment has been formally withdrawn. Colleagues, we will go to the next amendment. The next amendment is TTT L9 P30 lowercase r. Senator Taitigui, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise yet again, and every year when we have budget, to fight for funding for the cancer care. And what this amendment does, I propose, is to increase the Guam cancer care by $500,000. It was discussed earlier, colleagues, when the conversation with the good woman from Guåhan and OFB on how we've been shorting actually the cancer care for over, since I've been sitting here, every year they've only been giving 1,000. And it's just ridiculous.
1 million, you mean?
Oh, I mean 1,000, yes, 1 million, thank you for that correction, 1 million. So this is what the funding does, and from revenues collected in excess of adopted revenues for Public Law 3742 as amended by the General Appropriation Act. So this funding again is, coming from the 2025 general fund revenue. First, there are one-time, non-occurring funds that have already been collected beyond what was projected in Public Law 3742. And the Bureau of Budget Management Research and Department Administration preliminary reports confirm that actual general fund collections for FY25 exceeded adopted levels. These funds are cash on hand, not estimates or speculative, and it can be deployed without affecting the stability of ongoing government operations. So September 2024, consolidated, the CRER report shows that for fiscal year FY24, the general fund collected $1.58,661,619 compared to the adopted revenue levels in Public Law 3742. So, Mr. Chair, the funding for this, the amendment that I seek today is taking $500,000 from the estimated projected revenues. And yesterday, that's why I was really wanted to make sure that where did we get this $4 million that's left over in balance, that we can find some way to make whole the Cancer Trust Fund. We all know that the devastation on cancer has brought to our island. I mean, everyone in this room, if you've not been affected yourself, has a family member, a loved one, having to go through cancer. And what's just so devastating is the cost for treatment. You know, let alone the issue of not being there, that they have to be sent off island to be there when they're going through something so traumatic. So, Mr. Chair, for years since I've been in here, it's only been 1 million. Last year, we finally did something. Finally, we upped it up to about $3 million, $3.5 million, to try and give to the cancer care. This is something we cannot continue to neglect, colleagues. Cancer has not gone away, and the price to cover this is so much more than it was when we even offered the 15% by statutory law. But yet we continue to neglect them. And as a cancer survivor, these are not statistics to me. And they should not be statistics to any of us. There are parents or children or friends, and every day without support and treatment increases the odds of losing them. I'm angry that I even have to stand here or sit here and justify this. We should not have to argue about whether to fully fund the Cancer Care Trust Fund. We should not have to beg for compliance with the law designed to protect the health of our people. Colleagues, this is not a matter of politics. It's a matter of life and death. And I'm asking you to put people before profit, law before convenience, and compassion before any other giveaways. I fully respect and urgently ask your support for this amendment. Sijus Masi, Mr. Chair.
Sijus Masi, Senator, on the Taidagui Amendment, anyone wish to speak on the Taidagui Amendment? Senator Chalahi, you're recognized.
Sijus Masi. Just to confirm, on the FY25 general fund balance, there is sufficient amount to cover this, correct?
It is my understanding that, yes, that the other two appropriations that we had contemplated in the revenues chapter, the remaining balance was estimated at 4.5, so this would be 500,000 of the 4.5.
So after this, there will be a 4 million. All right. And I support this amendment wholeheartedly. I commend the author for finding this funds in order to bring up the amount that's going to the Guam Cancer Trust Fund to the amount that they received last year, and the amount much closer to the 3.582690 amount that they would have received pursuant to the formula of the Healthy Futures Fund. So this should allow them to continue the services. Those who were here last year can recall that that was, as the chairperson said, one of the most highly attended public hearings that we've had, because cancer patients who had availed of the services of those organizations that receive funds under this Guam Cancer Trust Fund came in, as well as the organization representatives themselves, and came in and told us about how necessary some of these services were. Some of them were for supplies, some of them were for the travel that wasn't covered by insurance or anything else when they had to, or even the extra medicine that was not covered under, like, for example, the Government of Guam pay plan, the Government of Guam health insurance plan, or their own health insurance. So very, very practical and useful cancer support. So I wholeheartedly support this, and I'm glad for the author to have found this additional money to bring them up to this level that we gave them last year. Sijus Masi.
Sijus Masi, Senator. On the amendment, Senator Barnett, and then we'll go to Senator Perez.
Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak in support of the amendment. I'm very glad we're able to address the Guam Cancer Trust Fund and fully funding it during this budget process, as it wasn't that way in the previous fiscal year, unfortunately. And it's one of the reasons why I voted no on the budget bill, as these funds really go to support those who are fighting cancer and all the organizations that assist them. My Pari Savage K, Casey Conception, was able to avail of some funds before he left island. You know, so many of our people fighting cancer have no choice but to either seek treatment off island or to completely relocate off island, as my late Pari had to. And then, you know, my mom's two sisters, my mother's youngest sister, Auntie Jeannie, was feeling dizzy. You know, went to the doctor. They told her it was vertigo. You know, got a second opinion. It turned out to be cancer that had spread throughout her back, and so she also relocated to live with my cousin, her daughter, in Minnesota. And you know, before she did, she was able to avail of funds and assistance from Guam Cancer Care. And then my mom's sister, Auntie Laling, unfortunately also succumbed to cancer, but she was able to get some assistance with the off-island travel, and all of this was made possible by our government's support of the Guam Cancer Trust Fund and Guam Cancer Trust Fund's ability to dole out these funds to the respective nonprofits and organizations that assist those battling cancer. And so I remember last year there was a big outcry, and we had the organizations basically protesting and rallying for the funding that we were able to eventually include in the supplemental budget bill. So I'm very glad that we're going to avoid all the anxiety and the frustration and the fear that was in the air around this time last year when we didn't fully fund the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. So I'm very grateful, and I hope that the colleagues will support the net projected unobligated fiscal year 2025 general fund revenue balance. And I'm hoping that we can fully fund the Guam Cancer Trust Fund and, you know, allow them to do the things they have to do for the benefit of so many of our people, Mr. Chair. So I commend the author for this amendment, and I urge the support of my colleagues in its passage. Cesar Masi.
Cesar Masi. Senator Perez, you're recognized. Senator Perez, one moment. I'm going to take a real short recess. Be right back. Senator Perez, you're recognized. I apologize for that. There was one tweak on the amount that we were verifying. So you have the floor at this time.
Thank you. No worries. So I just want to commend the sponsor of this amendment. It has been her mission to right-size this fund so that it reaches its statutory requirement. I remember there was always that perpetual 1 million, and so, you know, it's nice to see that we are finally recognizing the need for this, and so I do congratulate the author of this, sponsor of this amendment. On behalf of her, I would like to amend the amendment to reach its 15% statutory limit, which is 582,000 some, but just to round it off to 583,000, so an additional 83,000 is my amendment to the amendment.
Colleagues, on the amendment to the amendment, anyone would like to speak? Senator Tadigue, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I greatly appreciate that. I mean, here we are trying to stay within the FY25 budget to keep that status quo scenario with all these other agencies. And I think this is, you know, keeping to that same status quo, even when it comes to helping those who are very, very sick, who need the assistance. And as I mentioned earlier, costs have gone up. So every penny counts. So I greatly appreciate this amendment and in full support.
Ms. Masi, on the Perez amendment to the amendment, anyone would like to speak? Senator Chalai, you recognize.
Just once, can you just confirm the amount is 83,000?
That's correct. It is. We have no issues reaching that threshold.
All right. Yes, I fully support that amendment. It's a great idea. Wish I thought of it myself. It brings the amount that they're going to receive this year up to the formula that the creators of the Healthy Futures Fund promised them. Again, these are funds that come from the sin taxes. So it's alcohol, tobacco, and they're allocated across different health agencies and to this Guam Cancer Trust Fund. So this would bring them actually right up to the amount that formula in the statute by previous legislatures allocated to them. It's from a different source, the excess revenue, so I think that's even better, especially if the rest of the Healthy Futures Fund is going to GMH, Guam Behavioral Health, who also needs it. So then I think this is a great way to put this extra money in there, and they get the amount that they need. And 83,000, I can think of many purposes for cancer support that they can use this for. Again, so Sis Masi, and I support that amendment.
Sis Masi, Senator Barnett, you're recognized on the amendment to the amendment.
Sis Masi, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to rise in support of the amendment and commend my good colleague from the love handles of Guam, Magaʹhågan, Senator Perez, who is a former teacher. I'm pretty sure she busted out her red pen for this. And so I just want to also amend my comments because I thought I was speaking about the fully funding, but now I'm going to say I'm very glad that we're fully funding the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. And the retiring speaker had said there are many opportunities that can be given with 83,000 additional dollars. And I know that one of the programs that a lot of these nonprofits do is they hand out stipends to assist with a lot of the costs that are associated with medicines or travel, and many times those stipends are in the amount of $500, and so this $83,000 could potentially provide over 166 cancer patients with significant grants, if that's how the nonprofits choose to dole out this assistance. But every dollar counts when it comes to fighting cancer, and so I just rise in support of the amendment to the amendment, and I thank the colleague from Magaʹhågan for proffering it. Sis Masi.
Sis Masi, on the amendment to the amendment, Senator Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of any amendment, actually, that's going to help the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. But I did also want to first acknowledge your efforts in terms of taking it up to $3 million, and Senator Tadigue for finding the remaining balance, and Senator Sabina Perez also for finding the $83,000 to make Guam Cancer Trust Fund whole. So like I said earlier, I support any amendment that's going to help Guam Cancer Trust Fund. So thank you.
Jesus Masi, for the record, I voted for the supplemental last year. Thank you. Any other member on the floor? Senator Shelley Calvo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank the author of this amendment, and I rise in full support of this amendment. I think everyone here in this chamber and even out there has somebody, you know, either they're related to or they know that is battling cancer in the past, at the moment, and these things are not easy, right? So any help that we can extend to them is truly appreciated. And for those colleagues of mine who found the funding for this, I commend all of you as well. And this is not just about helping. The inclusion of educational outreach programs strengthens the fund's ability to promote early detection, and which is, for me, is very important. It's not just waiting for the last minute to find out that you have cancer, but early detection for me is one of the things that we can actually agree as a community that we need to really do. That way, informed decision making can happen. The structure of this appropriation reflects a clear intent to support both immediate care and as well as long-term awareness. And so again, I thank the author of this amendment for bringing it forward and look forward to seeing it move along. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the time.
Jesus Masi, Senator Calvo. On the amendment to the amendment, any other member wish to be recognized? Seeing and hearing none, would you like to close on your amendment to the amendment?
Yes, I would. So thank you to all my colleagues for their support. And, you know, I had personal experience with my dad when he had cancer, and he passed away 2 years ago. And so what was really important about my experience with the Cancer Trust Fund was their ability to provide transportation. And transportation is really expensive. And, you know, just having that support is really critical. For, you know, families are dealing with cancer. And it's really, you know, it puts a strain on the families to have to, you know, make sure that their family member is treated and has the support that they need. So, you know, whatever we can do to help our community, especially if there is treatment available, to have access and make their lives easier, especially during these difficult times. And so with this, I thank my colleagues for their support. Thank you.
Chief Masi, Senator. On the amendment, are there any objections to the amendment? Seeing, hearing none, objection carries. Objection carries. Amendment carries. Back to the main motion. Anyone wish to speak on the main motion? On the main motion, main amendment. Hearing, go ahead, Senator Guåhan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon. Actually, before we start, can we wish the Vice Speaker happy anniversary? Is this anniversary? Happy anniversary. 40 years, right? 40?
40 grand years with our favorite sister, Annette.
There we go.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Vice Speaker.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I rise full support, of course, of the appropriation for the strengthening our Cancer Trust Fund. First, I want to, of course, thank our Health Committee Chair, and likewise, of course, Senator Dueñas for your leadership as well, and Senator Bree, Committee Chair, Health Committee Chair, in raising this critical funding for $3 million. I also want to extend my gratitude, my colleague, of course, Senator Tello, for again offering this amendment that ensures that we keep building on that foundation. Colleagues, we don't have to look, you know, very far. I'm sure every one of us in here have family members. I know both my mom and dad passed away from cancer. Too many of our people, of course, here are traveling off island for treatment, away from their homes and their support networks, because the resources here aren't enough. Too many families are left with impossible choices between fighting for their health and, of course, managing their financial burdens that comes with it. The Cancer Fund was created with the purpose of giving our people hope that research, prevention, and support programs could reach them. But hope also requires action, and that's why this amendment matters. By making this investment, we are making a statement, of course, that our island will not stand by quietly in the face of this disease. We're giving our people a fighting chance. So colleagues, again, we talk about priorities. There is no greater priority than saving lives. And there is no greater show of unity than when this body comes together, as we are doing today, to put our people's health first. So I urge my colleagues again to support this amendment and vote positively on it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Senator Guåhan. On the main amendment, anyone wish to speak? Seeing and hearing none, left to speak, Senator Taidagui, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you so much to my colleagues for standing up and supporting this. I think I'm on a roll here, so can I make it to $10 million, Mr. Can we make it to 10, please?
Someday we will.
So I hope that we can actually, increase it even more down the line. Let's not just stick with this amount. That if we have an opportunity, you can betcha we're going to try and increase that cancer care. Again, colleagues voting for this amendment, you are dedicating your vote to all of those loved ones that passed away for cancer. That's what this is all about. And this is dedicated to everyone who's had to deal with cancer, who is still dealing with cancer, and those who've passed away from this deadly disease. So thank you, everyone, for your support, and let's continue the fight to beat cancer. Mr. Chair.
Senator Taidagui. So on the Taidagui amendment, are there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, Taidagui amendment passes. Colleagues, that will complete the amendment round. So that will mean that we are now complete on consideration of the University of Guam that's part 3 of chapter 2. We are complete and it's closed. Colleagues, one moment while we recall Office of Finance and Budget to go over the next part, which is going to be, I just had my page there. This will be, I believe it's teacher certification. We are in recess. Colleagues, the Committee of the Whole is back in order. At this time, I'm going to recognize Office of Finance and Budget Director Stephen Guerrero to introduce the methodology for the appropriation under Part 4, Guam Community College. We remain in Chapter 2. Director Guerrero, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. For Guam Community College, the amount that we appropriate in the bill, I believe, is almost exactly what the agency asked for. What they were asking for their increase was strictly for the adjustment in retirement and in increments, which amounted to about $606,000 increase. And the amounts for the post and the WICHI are basically the same level as that of FY25. So the only increase that GCC actually received was only for increments and adjustment in retirement. And historically, GCC rarely, and if they do, the amounts are very minimal, request for any increase over the current year budgets.
Sidusmasi, Director Guerrero. So now the floor is open for any questions or comments on one of Guam's favorite children, Guam Community College, really, really high-performing entity. So I open the floor to anyone who would like to ask questions or comment. Senator Chalal, you recognize.
Thank you. Mr. Director, can you please explain the decrease in the Manpower Development Fund for the GCC apprenticeship program? It's 131,558 decrease from last year.
Yes, Senator. When we look at the CER report for FY25, the Special Revenue Tracking Report, it shows basically the Manpower Development Fund slightly below the estimated amount that was projected for the fund for FY25. Based on information also we received from the Department of Labor and both the EBR, it also showed a slight decrease in the total collection for the Manpower Development Fund. So when we did our analysis, we ended up also coming up with almost the same figure. So therefore, we went ahead and took what was the number in the EBR for the Manpower Development Fund.
All right. So can you just let us know what is driving the decrease in that? I thought it's coming from the visas, right? And so are we expecting less people, or what happened that's it's decreasing?
Again, Senator, the information that we received basically is, although military contracts are expected to either remain the same or slightly increase over the next year, for some odd reason, the HB2 workers' visas application are remaining constant. There is no, and according to Department of Labor, they project, if anything, a status quo going into FY26, if not lower.
All right, that's their explanation. So visa applications are not increasing despite the military contract amounts increasing.
Information received from Department of Labor, yes.
All right, Sidusmasi.
Sidusmasi. Senator, on the Guam Community College budget, does anyone want to be recognized on a question or a comment? Any senator? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to take a recess to assess if we have any amendments in the drive. We're in recess. Colleagues, Legislature Committee of the Whole is back in order. So seeing and hearing no amendments in the drive for Guam Community College, that will complete Chapter 2, Part 4. So we are now going to, let me borrow. Yeah. And this will be found on page 39 of the budgets that we submitted to the body. And this will be Chapter 2, Part 5, and it will be the Guam Commission for Educator Certification. Director Guerrero, you may proceed.
Yes, the appropriation level for FY26 for Guam Commission for Educating Certification is status quo to that of FY25 of $296,271 appropriate from the general fund. I'm sorry, from the Guam Education Facilities Fund.
Colleagues, are there any questions for this budget appropriation? Senator Barnett, you're recognized. AV, I think we may have a mic problem. Okay, I guess all the mics are on the floor or out, so we'll take a short recess. We're in recess. Committee of the Whole is back in order. Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, I think I might have been in the restroom, but was there a discussion on the funding for the Guam Commission for Educator certification from OFB?
Yeah, there was, but I'll go ahead and have Director Guerrero reiterate what he said. Director Guerrero, please proceed.
Yes, for FY26, Senator, the amount for appropriated in the bill for the Guam Commission for Educator certification is $296,271, and it's coming from the Guam Educational Facility Fund.
Can you explain how they, like, what's the law say about that fund and how much goes to the GEC?
I believe, Senator, right now the law signifies that 10% of the Guam Educational Facilities Fund goes to the Guam Commission for Educating Certification.
And Mr. Guerrero, does that match up then with the $296,271 that's appropriated here?
Right now, what is estimated for the fund for FY25 is projected at $12.3 million. We are tracking right now at $11.9 million for roughly about a $335,000 decrease. So basically, we're not tracking up to the par what we estimate. So utilizing what we projected for the fund for FY26, I do believe that the amount that's projected, that's allocated for the Guam Commission for Education is the $296,271. Which is...
What's the percentage, sir?
I believe it's the 10%. Let me see. Let me verify 1 second.
Thank you.
Senator, let me kind of like backtrack here what I said earlier. There's no specific percentage from the Guam Education Facility Fund that actually goes to any department. It's just basically an appropriation made to each department from the fund.
So there isn't a statutorily set minimum or percentage for the Guam Commission for Educator certification?
Based on the chapter of the enabling legislation for the fund, sir, no.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. I only ask because I'm not sure if my colleagues also got this email from the Commission's director, Dr. Michelle Santos, and I'll just go ahead, if I may, Mr. Chair, read some of it into the letter. I believe it was addressed to all the senators, and they're writing to express their serious concerns regarding the FY2026 budget submission to the legislature. Specifically, attention has been drawn to the proposed placement for the GCEC within a section of the budget where it's never been situated before. And Mr. Chair, I'm not really sure what is meant by that because it is in the education section. But they go on further to state that the GCEC plays a critical and indispensable role in our educational system, providing the professional and ethical standards necessary to ensure the competence of our educators. By maintaining these high standards, the Commission safeguards the quality of educators that our schools receive, a mission that is paramount to the future success of our island. The current budget proposal's handling of the GCEC's funding and placement raises questions about the administration's commitment to this vital function. I respectfully urge you and your colleagues to thoroughly review this portion of the budget proposal and demonstrate and confirm your commitment to the education of our island's children by ensuring that GCEC is clearly identified in the budget bill. And Mr. Chair, they are in the budget bill, but I just wanted to highlight for the members that their request was $372,401. And so I'm not sure if there's something, it kind of looks like we do have enough revenues with the unobligated FY25. So if anybody wanted to proffer an amendment, maybe in a later chapter like miscellaneous, I would just further state, Mr. Chair, that we're facing a shortage of teachers, and the Guam Commission for Educator certification is an integral part in turning out teachers that are certified. We've sat in a few hearings with them. They're very accommodating in granting allowances so that teachers can make their way to certification. And just want to be sure that we can meet this ask of theirs, as we weren't able to do it in the previous fiscal year because I couldn't get the support from the members for that amendment to pass. So, Mr. Chair, I just, I don't know if the senators got this, but I did want to read it into the record. And I thank Dr. Santos for reaching out to the legislature during this critical time. She further writes, Mr. Chair, you may notice in the financials above the discrepancy between the requested amount to fund the desired staff level and appropriated amount that has permitted us to stay status quo. We have had recent increases in the appropriated amount to address the increase in operating expenses and the hiring of a new executive director. So it's a nominal amount, Mr. Chair, and I don't have anything prepared on paper, but I just wanted to state that on the record. As you know, part of the Adequate Education Act is ensuring that every classroom has a certified teacher. So obviously it would behoove the body to enable and empower the Guam Commission for Educator certification to meet its mandates. And I'm just not sure if they'd be able to do that adequately, no pun intended, with this status quo funding amount. Sizos Masi, Mr. Chair.
Sizos Masi, Senator Burnett. On the chapter for GCEC, any senator would like to speak? Senator Chalai, you recognize.
Thank you. Could OFB just again describe why the Educational Facilities Fund is funded from real property taxes? Is that where this money comes from?
You're correct, Senator.
So, but we're expecting a decrease in real property taxes? How could that happen?
Again, Senator, this is just information we're getting from both revenue taxation and basically the EBR, which reflected the lower amount anticipated for FY26 based on the tracking that we're seeing today.
So did FY25 meet what we projected on this real property tax fund?
Let me check real quick.
Just while he's checking that, I think that we had representations from Rev and Tax that I think they're currently and actively working with a contract to do revaluation. So
yeah, that was going to be my next question. They were here, and I asked them, what's the status? And they said they're reevaluating. So it's by November or December. I can't remember what they said. It should go up.
Yeah, I'm thinking possibly maybe we'll be able to make an adjustment mid-year if we get that data. Just thinking out loud.
Senator, based on the June CER report, if you look at the tracking, on the special revenue tracking. It's showing that we are, the public law estimated $35.8 million, so we anticipate to collect. We are tracking right now at 33.7 for a difference of 2.2 million less than what we anticipate to collect.
Thank you. And sorry, can you remind me what we put for FY26? Was it the?
For the Commission for?
No, for the whole Educational Facilities Fund? What we
The
predicted?
total amount that we appropriated out of the Education Facility Fund is 35.9 million.
Okay, so we're predicting again an amount that didn't come in this year. I guess that's reasonable because I can't see how real property taxes can go down, right? You can have vacant land amounts, and then you can only either add on or not add on to, and so be taxed on buildings and things like that. So I can only expect that to go up naturally, but again, with the DRT in process of assessment, OFB did not incorporate any anticipated increase in taxes from that real property assessment?
I am not too sure when, of course, the triennial reports are supposed to be done every 3 years. I believe the last one was done, I can't recall, many years ago. So in anticipation of, again, that not happening next year, it's reasonable to say that whatever we're collecting this year will probably be the same for next year. Again, these are one of the challenges we have in estimating these revenues. And although historically we can say, well, we see a gradual increase, all of a sudden we come to the year and we're expecting an increase, and all of a sudden we see a decrease with no logical explanation as to why. All we can say is like your assessment is correct. I mean, we have all this real property. It seems like property values are supposed to be going up. We have a housing shortage. The demand for housing is skyrocketing. So, that should indicate that the property should be more valuable than it was yesterday. But when we look at the collection, it doesn't show that. It shows the opposite. And so we just kind of we're hoping that it won't go down and that we keep a status quo level, at least going into FY26, and hopefully make up the difference within the next year.
All right. So, and then on this particular use of the Guam Educational Facilities Fund, the Guam Commission for Educator Certification, they said they hired a executive director, and now it looks like if they don't get their request, they're not going to be able to continue to keep those employees on, or I guess one or two. I don't. It sounds like very few employees there. So
Yes,
it's just
Senator.
going to eliminate
Go
their
ahead.
ability to keep those people on, the new director.
Yes, again, with this particular agency, Senator, their request that was sent in, this is to BBMR, was $408,332. I'm sorry, for FY26, the request for $372,401 based on the EBR. The EBR based on the letter that we submitted. The letter is dated August 11th. We already set the ceilings based on the revenue projection that we allocated out of the Education Facility Fund. And they are requesting, I believe, the $372,000, but we only allocated $296,000. So there's a difference of about $80,000, I believe, between the two
All right.
figures.
Did the governor have an amount for this entity?
I don't know if the governor was purview to the amount that's reflected in the letter, but by the time we got the letter, we have already set the
Yeah.
bill.
No, I mean in
amount.
her original budget request, did she
Yes,
have?
we
a
are the
request?
same as the EBR.
Same as EBR.
We are the same as the EBR.
Status quo from last year, but yeah, all right. I know, I saw the announcement. They hired a new director, so, okay, thank you.
Senator Borja, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, what I want to share is when we got the same email, we had spoken to the director from GCEC, and of course, she would like the full funding. A lot of that is some miscellaneous expenditures outside of operations. She did say, it's like $1,000 short, so I'm just going to write her a personal check, Mr. Chair, to take care of that. I'm just kidding. But that was the conversation we had with her yesterday. So can she, the additional expenditures, we can definitely look to try and find some funding for that. But for operations, it's $1,000 short, and we can address that in miscellaneous appropriations if we need to. But I can write a check too. Just kidding. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yusmasi, Senator Borja. You still have the floor. Are you complete, Senator Tulay? Any
Yes,
other
thank you.
senator wish to speak on this chapter or this part of Chapter 2? Hearing and seeing none, I'll take a short recess to see if there's any amendments in the drive. We're in recess. Committee of the Whole is back in order. So we have no amendments for this Chapter 2, Part 5. So we are going to consider Chapter 2, Part 5 for Guam Commission for Educator Certification having been duly heard. Colleagues, we are going into recess at this point to ascertain the availability of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority as they are next up in our Chapter 3. We will begin Chapter 3. Chapter 2 is officially closed. And Chapter 3, we will begin, of course, with the Guam Memorial Hospital. We are in recess. Committee of the Whole is back in order. For those who are viewing us, thank you once again for staying with us. We were going to go ahead and go into a short, well, not short, about 34-minute recess as GMH officials will be here at 5 p.m. So we'll be back on at 5 p.m. with Guam Memorial Hospital. Committee of the Whole is in recess.